New electric cars are being launched all of the time, but ones of the hot hatch variety are in short supply. Sure, there's the Cupra Born, and of course MG and Hyundai have all launched their own performance hatchbacks very recently. But these, the Hyundai Ioniq 5N in particular, are all rather large. Where are all the dinky little pocket rockets? But Abarth, that most charismatic of Italian performance brands, thinks it might have the solution with this, the Abarth 500e. Well, it certainly looks the business. Aside from the rather sudden paintwork of this particular car, the baby Abarth has ditched the cutesy town toddler looks of the Fiat 500e and has a bucket load of attitude. Big wheels and a frowning face make it look like an angry wasp. There's even a special take on the classic Abarth logo, complete with an electric bolt. Well, it certainly looks very good in here. This £38,000 Turismo model gets Alcantara on the dashboard, these fabulous Alcantara sport seats with blue and yellow stitching and the Scorpion logo in the headrests, and of course there is the all-important Alcantara trimmed steering wheel. So it looks like a hot hatchback in here, but does it sound like one? Yes, I did say £38,000. There is a cheaper one at 34 grand, but to get the Alcantara fancy bits and the 18-inch wheels, you're going to have to fork out 38 big ones. It isn't cheap, but what electric car is? Well, we have to address the elephant in the room, don't we? And that's the noise. Now, Abarth has fitted the 500e with a sound generator. It's in the back, it's where the spare wheel would normally be. And Abarth say they've spent over 6,000 hours fine-tuning the noise. They've consulted with Abarth Easters, the Scorpion Easters, the Abarth fans to you and I, and they've come up with this. Now, it's supposed to replicate the Abarth Record Monza, and it has generated a lot of criticism, especially from my colleagues in the motoring journalism world. People say it's gimmicky and it's completely unnecessary. I, however, have a slightly different view. I sort of like it. Let's face it, Abarth is addressing the major problem that petrolheads like you and I have with electric cars, is that they don't make any noise. Now, for some electric cars, that's great. I've recently been driving a BMW iX, and that car is deathly quiet. It's very relaxing, and the sound of silence is very appealing. But there are some cars that need an engine noise, and you could say a hot hatch is one of those. Now, Abarth have fine-tuned this sound generator pretty well, actually. For instance, I'm just driving along at 40 miles an hour right now on a steady throttle, and then if I put my foot on the accelerator, and I mean, that does sound quite a lot like a petrol car, doesn't it? And also, we're coming into a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit now. I'm taking my foot off the throttle, and it's pretty much in step with how you'd expect an engine to sound and to react to what you're doing with your right foot. So you can tell a lot of work has gone into it, and it does address a problem we have with electric cars. The only problem I have with it, though, is it does get on your nerves quite quickly. So I'm driving along at 50 at the moment, and listen. Because there is no gearbox, and because, of course, it's fake anyway, the sound is fake, you sort of need a gearbox to go with that engine noise, because it just sounds as though I'm driving along in third gear at the moment and the car is revving out. Of course, it's not settling down. It would be quite nice for the car to realise that when you're just driving along at steady speed, it could knock the noise down a couple of levels and make it sound well, like how it would if it were a real engine. You do have to applaud Abarth for trying to address the problem which we're going to have with performance electric cars in the future. I'm just not quite so sure this is the best solution to the problem. It's sort of like 7/10 of the way there. Well done, but it could be better. Now look, I am completely aware of how utterly insane I sound even talking about this, moaning about an EV not delivering the right noise to simulate a petrol car. But noise is a key ingredient of a hot hatchback, and I'm not sure Abarth's system is the complete solution. Now I've got to the stage now where it's getting on my nerves. So to turn it off, you actually have to stop the car, put it into park, handbrake on, go into the car's computer, bear with, electric features, external sound, off. Oh, lovely. I do actually feel a little bit guilty turning the sound generator off, because knowing how much work Abarth has put into creating it, me switching it off almost feels rude. But this is an electric car after all, and I do want to experience an electric car perhaps the way you should experience an electric car, which is virtually no sound. Now that sound generator might be off, but there is still quite a lot of tyre roar, a lot of wind noise, but this is a small little performance-minded hot hatchback, isn't it? If it were completely deathly Mercedes S-Class levels of quietness, it would seem wrong, wouldn't it? Now the first thing you notice about this Abarth 500e is that it brings over a lot of what I like in the Fiat 500e, which is a much nicer interior, better made, better considered, but most importantly of all, a much nicer driving position. The thing with the old Abarth 595 and 695, which incidentally will remain on sale in the UK for the time being and for the foreseeable future, is the driving position is absolutely chronic. I've driven many Abarth 695s and I can't really get beyond, I don't know, 50 miles or so before I have to pull over and throw the keys away. The driving position is frankly appalling. This, you don't get that. You get the seat feels a lot lower. You feel as though you're not on top of the car. You feel a little bit more as though you're sitting within it, and it's just a lot more comfortable. Now let's stay with that comfort theme. Now this Abarth 500e doesn't have bespoke suspension like you find in quite a few Abarth 595 and 695 special editions over the years. It just gets a retuned, stiffer dampers and different settings compared to the standard Fiat 500e. Now that might sound a little bit of a cop-out, but it isn't, because this car's ride is firm. There's no question of it. It's just that it's just a little bit more composed and a little bit better balanced than you'd find in the petrol powered versions of the Abarth. It delivers enough of a sporty feel without feeling as though you need to go to your chiropractor tomorrow morning. Another thing I really do like about this Abarth 500e is the steering. Now it's pretty light, surprisingly light, lighter than you'd find in the petrol versions of the Abarth, but it's really quite crisp actually. I mean, I'm going into a roundabout here and there's a bit of feel. I can feel what the front wheels are doing, and it goes exactly where you want it to. And the front end is just so grippy. I mean, you turn this car into a corner and it goes. Much like the petrol-powered version, actually. It's just got that clarity and that crispness which you want in a hot hatchback. Even when you put this car in its sportiest setting, which is a scorpion track that sharpens everything up, obviously gives you more punch, but it also turns off the one pedal brake mode. But even in this setting, the Abarth 500e is quick. I wouldn't say it was fast. Not as fast as I would expect or would hope a hot hatch to be. I mean, don't get me wrong, this car's got 152 horsepower, 235 newton meters of torque, and it is quick. Let me put my foot on the throttle and you do go. But I have to say, it doesn't feel enormously different from many other electric cars that are on sale, and that is one of the problems which we face and manufacturers face with electric performance cars in the future. You see, just think about it. With a petrol-powered car, the parameters are far greater. The opportunities for engineers to make a sporty car feel different to a normal car are just much greater. I mean, of course, there's engine note, there's the way the engine performs and the way the engine operates, there's gears, there's a number of things a manufacturer can do to make a sporty derivative feel different from a normal car. And with electric motoring, it's a bit harder, isn't it? Yes, of course, you can change the suspension, you can add a bit more power to the electric motor, but the sensation of you putting your foot on the throttle and getting that instantaneous torque is all very similar no matter which electric car you're in.
This being an electric car, of course, we have to talk about range. The Abarth gets a 42 kilowatt-hour battery, which gives a range of around 160 miles depending on the trim level, which is around 40 miles less than the equivalent Fiat 500e, but it should be enough for a Sunday morning B-road blast. It can also fast charge up to speeds of 85 kilowatts, meaning a 0 to 80% top-up will only take 35 minutes.
So, has Abarth succeeded in creating an electric hot hatchback? Well, put it this way, they haven't failed. In many ways, they really have created an electric hot hatchback that's engaging, sporty and charismatic to drive. The problem is, it doesn't quite go the whole hog. It doesn't deliver that hardcore, visceral experience we're all searching for in a hot hatchback. But perhaps an electric car can never deliver that. Perhaps the answer here is we need to change our expectations. So far, so good then. But let's... Oh, bugger, I forgot to put the sound... Oh, cut. I need to switch it on. I've switched it off. Wait a minute. And of course, an Alcantara trimmed steering wheel. It even sound... Go away, Jeremy Vine. Cut. We'll have to cut and then cut into this bit.